awarding ceremony. The community partnership is a Nebraska Military Department program managed and administered by the Adjutant General, Nebraska National Guard. Referred to as the CPP, this program allows the Nebraska National Guard to include the full Nebraska Military Department of the Nebraska Army National Guard, Nebraska Air National Guard, and Nebraska Emergency Management Agency to support the citizens of Nebraska by recognizing and developing enduring relationships within local communities and carrying out activities to build trust, sustain open lines of communication, and enhance overall readiness for emergency response. As part of the CPP, today leaders with the Nebraska National Guard and the local Wahoo community are spending the entire day engaged in various activities and conversations that honor veterans, discuss emergency management best practices, and brainstorm future collaborative opportunities to further develop a reliable and valued relationship through the CPP. Additionally, the Nebraska National Guard held a Guard for a Day event earlier at Wahoo Public High School. Today's community partnership agreement between the Nebraska National Guard and the City of Wahoo will be signed by Major General Craig W. Strong, Adjutant General, Nebraska National Guard, and the Honorable Gerald D. Johnson, Mayor, City of Wahoo. We are honored to have with us today many distinguished guests, including Lieutenant Governor Joe Kelly. At this time, I would like to invite Lieutenant Governor Joe Kelly to the podium for his remarks. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor.
Thanks, everybody. It's great to be with you here this afternoon. I want to commend Mayor Johnson and General Strong and his entire staff for what you're doing here today. It's really invigorating to see this. I'm sure if you had a chance to listen to Governor Pillen this morning or talk to him, one of the points he made was when we interviewed for this position to fill and become the next Adjutant General, General Strong made a point of saying this is exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to reach out, become better partners with our communities, with our schools, and it's not just a recruitment tool, as you already know by now. It's to help community leaders gain an understanding of how important the military and organizations like NEMA are to their communities, both your employers, if you're an employer, and the employees who are in this region. So it's I'm just really glad I could be here to be a part of this, to see it in its early stage. I think it's also interesting to note, as perhaps has already been said, that we're here at the 5-year mark when the National Guard and NEMA both responded to those devastating floods in March 2019. And I was working in Omaha at the time. Floods clear up almost on the streets. It was quite a time for the state. And when it was all said and done and everybody had handled it, we were so proud of the Nebraska National Guard, their role in getting us back to normal, as well as NEMA during the crisis itself. It gives us all an appreciation of what you all do day in and day out in those roles. And it also, more recently as we look at the fires that we've had and the snowstorm this winter, all of it under that same bag of people here in uniform and people with NEMA here who all the rest of us Nebraskans rely on every week, every year to kind of get us through those terrible spots. So thank you very much for what all of you do. A couple of comments when I walked in the door about the great things that are going on in Wahoo. I learned a little bit about that during our campaign a year and a half ago. Several stops here, enjoyable stops, I should say, and a lot of great people I had the chance to meet, but there's neat things going on here, so I think it's just perfect that General Strong and staff picked Wahoo for this first stop in this new mission and to reinvigorate. And I'm sure after this maiden voyage here, the Guard will learn a lot, and I think community leaders will learn a lot about how to improve on this process, but overall, just get the communities and the National Guard connected. It's great to be here with you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Kelly. Our next speaker today will be the Honorable Gerald D. Johnson, Mayor for the City of Wahoo. Please welcome Mayor Johnson to the podium.
I don't get called Gerald D. very often. I knew it used to be, if it was Gerald, it was my mother that would come and talking to me or something. Or said, somebody wants Gerald Johnson. Or maybe I was in trouble. But anyway,
Later, sir.
yeah. I changed my name because there was a lot of other Gerald Johnsons in the Holdridge area. We had the problem of having so many people with the same first name. We had to go by nicknames. We had to go by where they lived, if it was north, east, west, or south. It was kind of fun, but it was kind of interesting too. Kind of a state of the city report, I guess I'll give today for the Guard. We're proud of Wahoo. I've adopted it as my home, but also for maybe some of the citizens here that are here. Kind of remind me of all the things that we've got going in Wahoo. But I'm going to start back when my first time in Wahoo, or a long time ago when I was a child. We drove through Wahoo to get to Illinois to see family. About half the time we had a detour because Wahoo was flooded. I remember that. So came here in 1960 to go to college. And 61, there was a little bit of a flood again. Went to Luther College, met my wife. A year later, we got married. She finished up at Kearney State at that time, and she wrote a paper for her graduation requirement, I guess. And the title of the paper was Flooding in Saunders County. Got tired of that. Okay, moving forward, we built the dam. I was on the committee when we were working on that. I happened to be on as mayor again for the dedication of this dam in Lake Wanahoo and flood control. That's part of the National Guard Commission too. So, because of the NRD, John Moshi, who was at a meeting this morning, and Eric now and other staff members, truly an asset for the city of Wahoo. When I retired, I said it was a no-brainer that we come back to Wahoo and live. Yeah, it was her hometown, but I adopted it myself. And that leads into a comment that was made last weekend during the basketball tournament. That we stayed home and watched it on TV. And the TV commentator talked about all the families that graduated from Wahoo High School and Newman that come back and raise their families in their hometown. It shows up. People want to come to Wahoo to live. It was a no-brainer for us. This is a story that probably most of you have heard before, but we got back here and I worked off the NRD. I was here when we dedicated this. I was in the legislature representing this area I was part of the opening of the 4-lane around Wahoo. And I said to my wife, I said, I'll bet in your wildest dreams you never thought that I would be in those positions. And Arlene said, Jerry, you have never been in my wildest dreams. We've had a housing shortage. We've got people wanting to move to Wahoo. The innovative financing and work between the community, especially two of them sitting over here, Melissa and Ryan, in order to get a project done. In the next 2 years, we will have 250 new homes or apartments in Wahoo. So people will have a place for you. One thing we do need, we need commercial space. And we're trying to work through that a little bit, trying to figure out how to create more personal space. The other things that happen in Wahoo that are very positive, Saunders Medical Center, our park and rec for people, for the younger families, very important. A business district that's alive. We've got long-time businesses here, both traditional and maybe not so traditional people have adjusted. I think the ones that I walked with this morning noticed all of the niche businesses that we have that are viable. It gives us a very stable tax base. So that brings about a very bright, vibrant community. Our business district is full. We only found the Wigwam and a couple across from City Hall that are not, and probably for a long time will not be able to be used. We were compared a couple times this morning to Mayberry. I would say Wahoo is Mayberry on steroids. We got things going. You can see I get emotional when I talk about Wahoo. I love it. We're going to be a town of the first class within the next 10 years, probably at least 5. We might have an opportunity to start looking at that sooner, but we're starting to prepare for that. Some different things that has to happen within the city in order for that to be accomplished. So, we can tell those positive story. We've got some issues when you grow, but we get through them. And it's because of the people in this room. So I would say I'm honored and proud to serve as your mayor. I'll say, we are Wahoo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson, for that heartfelt and passionate comments. Thank you. Our final speaker for today is Major General Craig W. Strong, the Adjutant General of Nebraska and the Director of Nebraska Emergency Management. Please welcome Major General Strong.
Thank you, Shane. Before I begin, I really want to thank Lieutenant Governor Joe Kelly. When we discussed the concept for the, which was once Monster Blitz, it's still, that is our call sign code word, but it's the Community Partnership Program. They indicated, don't work around our schedule. Work around what works best for you in the community. We'll be there. And boy, they proved that today. And because there's there's some stuff going on in the Capitol, I guess, called the session, and you're out of it. You've got a hall pass for us, so it's really meaningful that you're able to find time for us, and you're, of your word that you said, just plan it and we'll be there. And that was demonstrated in spades. And then, Jerry, I won't call you Gerald, you know, when we talk about the values of leadership and the Army values that come to the forefront, when I just listening to you speak, it's the duty, it's the loyalty, and it's selfless service. Selfless service. And we were joking earlier, walking down the streets. you were going to get a hat, and you go, I got to go to the store, they're going to make me like 5 hats, because I wear about 5 hats. And, that is something we do because it comes from the heart, and you can tell it was coming from your heart today. And the other piece about that is, as I mentioned it after the luncheon, during the luncheon, that the trait of leadership of I care. And you can clearly demonstrate you care. So what a leader to follow, and thank you for everything you've done today. It's been a fantastic day, and we're even going to go later today. Melissa, Ryan, Grant, Cody, Teresa, the rest of your team, I'm probably missing folks, but thank you for being part of this special day. Herb, I see you every day, sir. Yeah. Okay. As I mentioned before, what a great day it's been. We're going into the evening. I've even heard I got to change the clothes for later. From this, we kicked it off at sunrise with a veterans ceremony. This morning we had the beautiful found and flora wreath. We wanted that wreath to be local, and they just knocked it out of the park. Thank you for that. Very meaningful. I think I had one too many applesauce donuts from the Water Bakery. A meat plate that I'm supposed to finish off later, and from the locker. And it's just, this is the community of heart and hospitality. And the hospitality we receive cannot be beat. Wahoo's been so welcome. It's exactly what I think we envisioned for this program. It was the type of connections we want to make with this community partnership program. So to answer the main question on everyone's mind, why did we choose the city of Wahoo for our inaugural community partnership? Well, if you notice by now, Wahoo exemplifies everything we are looking for in a partner. Commitment to supporting service members, past, as we demonstrated this morning, and present. Open lines of communication that are friendly, trustworthy faces, and engaged community leadership, interested in enhancing their own emergency response capabilities. Thank you for that. To be selected for the community partnership program, a community must be nominated by at least one veteran within the community. Should you write that? Okay. When we started looking at potential community partners, my former executive officer, Major, now retired, Ryan Thompson, bragged about how veterans-oriented events the city of Wahoo had. And retired Lieutenant Colonel Dave Dubois, who served for more than 30 years in the Nebraska Army National Guard, only echoed and expanded upon his initial nominating dialogue. It resonated. After I had the opportunity to speak with at the Wahoo's Veterans Day School Assembly last November, where even the youth were engaged by the incredible stories of service by community veterans, there was no doubt in my mind our first partnership would be the city of Wahoo. Between all that, the history of the city, and then meeting with the leadership, this city was exactly what we envisioned for a community partner. So speaking of history, Wahoo has such a rich history of military service, including some significant ties to the Nebraska National Guard dating back to the 1870s. So I need to do public math, 150 years. While the Wahoo Warriors, congratulations to the Wahoo Warriors, by the way, and the Cavaliers are making all the great plays, and on Saturday they demonstrated that for sure. Long ago, there were the Wahoo Rangers. They were one of the earliest militia units formed after the Civil War as part of the 1870s militia revolution. Mustered by the governor at that time to help break a union strike at Omaha's smelting works and deal with potential riots. They eventually were reorganized in 1881 into the Wahoo Foragers. Imagine, though, that your mascot, those are your mascot names today, the Rangers or the Foragers. Kind of has a resonance. But I did tell the two schools when they collaborated that, they're different schools, but what really brings them together, I just focused on their mascots. We had Warriors and we had Cavaliers, and a Cavalier is a mounted soldier. So I said we got soldiers and warriors, and this is the perfect audience to consider the National Guard. Camp Sheridan. It was just 1 mile outside of Wahoo, and it was also where soldiers often conducted their annual training from 1888 through 1925, so quite a few years. Unfortunately, during that time, soldiers had to provide their own food, and more than 200 men fell ill as a result of improper food preparation, combined with poor sanitation conditions. Those are the hardships of the day, I guess. We've certainly come a long way since then, and in fact, in recent years, the Nebraska National Guard cooks have won multiple national-level culinary awards in food service competitions. The Wahoo Armory, built right into the community, was created in 1961 to house the newly created 24th Medical Company, Wahoo. And that was not a ground ambulance medical company, that was an air ambulance medical company with a landing zone behind the armory. So I don't know if you can envision that now, the helicopters landing in that neighborhood. Wahoo was home of the 167th Aviation Company for a few years before that element permanently moved to Lincoln. They also held the headquarters of the 1st of the 134th Infantry for a time, then the former 195th Armor before hosting their current tenant, the 623rd Engineer Company. That company had, the soldiers who had a minimum visit your city once a month for their regularly scheduled training. At the memorial this morning, there were a lot of names on the replica tombstones and even more on the black stone wall. Saunders County and Wahoo included had a lot of heroes. I've been fortunate enough to have served with some of them, including some in this room now. Some of those leaders are serving today, and future leaders, like the names and faces you see on those posters on the wall over there in this room, are starting their own service journeys. But it's not just the enlisted or the officers who have made their impact. Wahoo citizens have historically proven to support U.S. military troops time and again. Starting in 1925, when Wahoo Industry built riflets, blockhouses, and target houses in support of the new Ashland Rifle Range, there were the multiple memorials we learned about this morning. The USS Wahoo Submarine Memorial and the Saunders County Eternal Flame that would eventually transform into the full Veterans Memorial present today. But perhaps my favorite story of Wahoo citizens supporting service members is from 1990. What a thoughtful display of kindness and support. And that kindness and support, Wahoo's strength and honor, is certainly still present today. Well, this is just the start of our official community partnership program, but we could have asked for a more perfect inaugural city. As evidenced by the extensive history lesson the Nebraska National Guard and the city of Wahoo have had 150 years ago. So, as we move to sign this first community partnership agreement, you'll hear the words on it read, "We affirm this partnership and enduring relationship between the Nebraska National Guard and the city of Wahoo. This isn't just the beginning."
Official partner of the Nebraska National Guard through our Community Partnership Program. As part of the Community Partnership Program, the Nebraska National Guard recognizes the city of Wahoo as a friend of all Nebraska citizens, citizen soldiers, citizen airmen, Nebraska Military Department employees, and their families. Together, we will honor our common values and build upon our capabilities to better serve all Nebraska citizens in times of stability and emergency. We attest to this enduring relationship between the city of Wahoo and the Nebraska National Guard, signed this 13th day of March, 2024.